Without wasting your time, we are going to share top 5 best yogurt maker. The product links are in the description and in first comment. The number 5 on the list is Cuisine. Cuisine, if you want to make the thickest Greek yogurt possible, a yogurt strainer is a necessity. The setup is simple. Yogurt is placed in a fine mesh strainer that fits into a bowl. The yogurt is placed in the refrigerator for several hours to drain. Gravity does all the work for you. The strainer will separate liquid whey from your yogurt. You can use a strainer-style Greek yogurt maker to thicken store-bought or homemade yogurt too. It's a great option if you don't like the idea of cooking your own yogurt or you come across a sale on regular yogurt and want to transform it into Greek yogurt to make breakfast parfaits or homemade tzatziki. I put the cooled yogurt in the Euro strainer and put back in the fridge for about 2 hours. When finished and with the lid on, I give it one big flip, then drop it about 2 from the counter. A majority of the yogurt will then be removed from the strainer onto the lip. If you did a full 2 quarts of milk, you need to work quickly, especially if you didn't strain 3 hours. I move it to individual containers or 2-quart mason ball jars for storage. You will want to get a flat knife or spatula and gently remove any remaining yogurt from the strainer. Be very careful as it's a fine mesh and you don't want to detach. I then flip it over and use my faucet sprayer working from the outside with it tilted down to drain flushed yogurt into the sink. Spray around the mesh, completely removing the yogurt. Do not let the yogurt set up or it will be hard to remove. I put it somewhere safe to dry. I flavor my yogurt with stevia and vanilla, about teaspoons per cup. 2 quarts of milk will yield about 7 cups of yogurt. I add berries as we eat it. The Euro strainer is a perfect end to a great batch of homemade yogurt. The number 4 on the list is stainless steel yogurt maker. Stainless steel yogurt maker. For many years, I was making Greek yogurt using a large Pyrex measurer and incubating in my oven with only the light one to keep it warm. Then we moved, and my oven doesn't have a light-only setting. I have tried wrapping in towels in a warm room, but the temperature was not consistent and the bacteria didn't culture. Someone recommended this contraption to me, but I have had no success. Twice I followed the directions exactly as printed, but the bacteria did not grow at all. I do not believe that the container stays warm enough, and the second time even tried wrapping it in a towel, but still nothing. I am very disappointed. The company contacted me to offer help but didn't leave a contact link, so had to hunt them down. Third time's the charm. Someone said she put boiling water in the glass jar and steel container while the milk was heating, and I tried that. Also, the starter instructions said that the first time it was used might not show any visible results, but to still use that for a culture. The second time, it didn't take either, but I found some lumps at the bottom of the jar, so I used those for the third time. Finally, the company did contact me and advised using a consumer Greek yogurt instead of dry starter, and it has been working beautifully. I wish there was more versions like this. I would modify the way they tell you to prepare the theorems thought. I have found my yogurt come out better when I heat my milk in a water bath to the correct temperature and then put it on the counter under a clean to cool down. Then once everything is mixed in the jar, I put water that is about 115 F in the theorems up to the shoulder of the jar and I get perfect yogurt every time. Every time I made it without putting the water in, my yogurt ended up more like a tangy yogurt shake, not thick creamy tangy yogurt that I like. The number 3 on the list is Cuisine yogurt maker. Cuisine yogurt maker. When I first started making yogurt, I brought it to 185 on the stove. I quickly moved to the microwave method and found 16 minutes of 2 quarts of milk in a 2-quart Pyrex glass measuring cup. Pour pitcher gives me 185 degree. Stir every 3 to 4 minutes to get rid of cold spots. You then need to cool to below 120 or you will kill your yogurt bacteria. You can either leave it on the counter for a slow cool or put in a sink of ice cold water. Stirring every so often to cool quicker. By now, your yogurt cubes should be melted and be in your Pyrex bowl or inner pot. As soon as your milk hits 120, pour about a cup of milk back into the Pyrex dish or bowl if you are doing the oven method or into the inner pot if doing a pressure cooker method. Stir it around good, then add the remaining milk and stir again. To incubate the yogurt, I put in my instant pot, which is a yogurt mode, setting it for 10 hours and normal pressure. Note that pressure isn't used, but there is a low setting, Jiu-Yang, and a high, to scald. I find it's easier in the MW. You aren't under pressure, so you can use a glass, instant pot lid, or with the regular IP lid you can vent or close. When it's finished, I wipe the condensation off the top and move to the fridge. You can do the oven method too instead of the instant pot. I turn my electric oven on the lowest it will go, which is 170. I turn the light on. To incubate, move the yogurt in a bowl Pyrex covered with saran wrap to the oven. Turn off the oven. Do not open the door. Leave for 10 hours with the light on to keep it about 100 degrees. For those without a pressure cooker with yogurt motor electric oven, I've heard of the hot water method with mason jars in a cooler. People wrap their pressure cookers with a towel. I've not used any of these, but Google for more info. Whey: this old gal has a great whey bread recipe on her site. I use half white and half whole wheat, plus the 1.5 cups of whey, salt and yeast. It's a no-knead bread. Do not throw the whey away. It's very nutritious and can be used different ways if you Google it. I've even drank it. Think of it as a shot of healthiness. I hope this review helps, and although I went into additional details, anyone using a Euro strainer wants to know how you make the yogurt to strain and also what to do with the whey. The price of a gallon of milk is so cheap. A half gallon of milk will yield 7 cups of great yogurt. It's worth the time to make healthy yogurt. If you like this review, please be sure to mark it was helpful. The number 2 on the list is Instant Pot. Instant Pot. First, it is almost impossible to mess up with this thing to a point of being dangerous, so if you're concerned about the exploding pressure cookers of yore, you needn't be. I said almost. Don't go overriding your pot's safety features and then blame me when you poke an eye out. The lid audibly tells you when it's sealed when you turn it clockwise, and the pot won't even build up much pressure if you haven't properly closed the steam release handle by turning it too clockwise. The most likely point at which a problem could arise would be if you try to open the lid by turning it counterclockwise before all of the pressure has been released and normalized, so don't do that. The pot visually lets you know when it's safe to open the pot by the float valve, the little silver post that pops up when the pot is pressurized, dropping back down flush with the lid instead of being popped up. Think of the float valve as the reverse of a turkey pop-up button. In the case of the float valve, it's done when the button pops in instead of out. The pre-programmed settings each have their own timing and variable pressure, which the pot manipulates by manipulating the temperature of the contents. The higher the temperature, the higher the pressure. That is primarily what makes them different from manual, which provides one consistent pressure, either high or low. However, they generally bring the contents to high pressure, fluctuating the temperature a little so that the pressure fluctuates a little too for a set period of time. The main exceptions to this are the rice button and the multi-grain button. Personally, I just find it easier to use manual and set the time that I want. The number 1 on the list is Automatic Digital Yogurt Maker. Automatic Digital Yogurt Maker. I bought a yogurt starter on Amazon that would work with vegan yogurt. I followed the directions on the vegan yogurt starter packet for the temperatures that the coconut milk in the saucepan had to be heated to and not above or you kill the magic yogurt bacteria, etc. Sadly, even that's not enough info though. I researched online and found out that to make thick and creamy coconut milk yogurt as opposed to watery yogurt soup, I needed to add a little maple syrup and a little agar powder. Adjust the right time to the coconut milk in the saucepan so the yogurt starter has what it needs to work best. In other words, if you want to do coconut milk yogurt, you need to research online because timing and temperature is everything. When to add the agar powder and when to add the maple syrup versus when you add the yogurt starter. It's all easy once you noodle it out, but you have to take the relevant info off the yogurt starter packet, the relevant info maple syrup and agar powder off the web, and then the Cuisine has its own operating instructions. None of it rocket science, but it requires a bit of thinking and organization beforehand. Because I used coconut milk, I used the Cuisine for around 13-14 hours, and after being in the fridge overnight, it was perfect, thick and creamy, and tasty. I was in shock, it was so good.